All right, is this light gonna cast a shadow on me here? Here we go. Welcome to the Building Knowledge channel. I'm Jamie Perkins, behind the camera, my brother Eric, and we are the Perkins Builder Brothers on our other channel. Today, we're gonna talk about money.
Oh no.
Why do we need to talk about money, you might think? Well, I mean, it's kind of weird. Money's a weird thing, you know. My kids ask me, why do you have to go to work today, Daddy? Can't you just stay home? Can't you just get someone else to do that? And so money is something that we need. It's why I go to work, to earn money. Of course, there's lots of other reasons, but I don't go to work just for fun. I don't know how many of you do your job just for fun. You know, we need to make a living. So let's talk about how contractors make money. How do you ensure that you're going to make money as a builder? How do you know that when you're done with the job, that you charged enough money to make a profit that made your time worthwhile and that you didn't just break even? Because working for 6 months on a house to break even is not something I'm interested in, and I don't think that you would be either. As far as I know, there are two main types of pricing. There's fixed pricing, which is what we use, and then there's cost plus pricing, and we'll talk about that as well. Cost plus works like this. However much the cost of the entire project, which includes all the materials that the house is made from, all the subcontractors that were hired, all of the labor, meaning the labor of the workers, the labor hours of the contractor, basically every expense that you can find that was spent on a project, you take all that money and add it up. Let's just use a number, for example. Let's just say a house cost maybe $300,000 in material, labor, subcontractors. Material. You're gonna have lots of material if you plan to build a house. And what the contractor is gonna do is charge a percentage, and it might be 10 or 15%, or it could be something different. It could be more. They're gonna take a percentage of the total amount spent, and then they are going to, that is gonna be their fee. All right, so you take $300,000 times 10% or 15%, and whatever that number is, that is the fee that you pay to the contractor for building your house.
$30,000 or $40,000 extra.
All right, 300, 1, 2, 3 times 1.15 equals 345.
So 45,000.
Okay.
Cost plus. What are the advantages for the builder or the homeowner, or disadvantages? Let's talk about that.
All right, let's start with the builder. The advantage for the builder is that the builder is guaranteed to make money.
Sweet.
I think it's a fail-proof. Well, there are other factors maybe that could come into play. I wouldn't say 100% fail-proof, but in essence, the builder is guaranteed to make money, a percentage of what the project cost. And the disadvantage, though, for the builder is that you have to keep a very accurate account of all the money spent.
That's a lot of work.
You have to keep all your receipts. Like, you, in essence, have to prove that you spent that money on a certain thing and how much. We're even talking about logging your labor hours if you're going to get paid for your labor. We're talking about saving gas receipts. We're talking about, you know, having this giant list of all the money that was spent. Now, that's not the hardest thing in the world, and there's definitely software that can help you to keep track and to categorize things and all that. That's nice. But let's talk about the homeowner now. So the homeowner may not know exactly how much the house is going to cost at the beginning.
Right.
Because the builder probably can't tell them exactly how much it's going to cost. And so for the homeowner or a bank, let's say, there is a slight risk on their part that the project could go over budget.
Does that ever happen?
I don't think that happens in building. Like, I don't think people go over budget in building, maybe like other businesses. But that's a pretty big risk, I believe, for the homeowner and sometimes for the banks. And that's why they don't want to lend the entire amount. You have to put money down a certain amount, you know, a certain percentage.
Hey, let's talk about this. It could possibly, if you were not the most honest person, builder, they're out there.
Yes.
Could it encourage the builder to spend more money than they had to?
There is that side of it where the builder might be inclined to spend extra money or to buy extra materials that don't get used for some reason because they know they're getting extra money. Every time they spend money, they make money.
They make more money.
So they might want to spend more money. They might want to hire subcontractors that cost more money.
Yes.
So they can make more money. Let's just say, oh, I don't know, let's say you can hire the $10,000 crew to do a job for you, or you can hire the $30,000 or $40,000 crew to do the job. Well, would you rather have 10% of $10,000 or 10% of $40,000?
Is that a trick question?
It is, but it's a good question.
So you would need to trust your builder, and there are very good trustworthy builders out there as well. So you need to have that trust relationship, I would say, even more.
I think so. A couple of years ago, I was presented with a set of drawings. A potential homeowner wanted me to build this house, and it was extravagant. It was huge. I don't even know how big it is. It was like 10,000 square feet. It had stone everywhere, all these fancy roof lines and all kinds of crazy stuff, copper stuff, curved stuff.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah, right. It sounded like something that I couldn't price, actually. It sounded like this is going to be impossible for me to figure out how much it cost, or it's going to cost so much money for me to spend the time it would take to price out everything that I've already lost. I've already lost before I even started. And I think that bigger houses that cost a lot more money may need to be cost plus, because I don't see how in the world you could figure out exactly how much it's going to cost to build ahead of time. I think you're going to have to ballpark it to the homeowner, say, look, I think this is a $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 house, somewhere in that range, could be $1 million. If you're comfortable with that, let's give it a go. But for me, my customers want to know exactly the price, and I couldn't do it.
That's not our usual clientele.
No, and we didn't do the job, actually, on account of that. Let me tell you why we don't do cost plus building. We're building smaller homes that you can wrap your mind around the entire project easily because they're small, and we can actually figure out how much money it's going to take to build the house. Like material, labor, subcontractors, our labor. We can actually figure out a number that is fairly precise, and then we add the amount of profit that we need to make on each job to make it worthwhile for us to build the house. That's really all it comes down to. All right, and Eric is actually, thankfully for me, he has a degree in computer science and graphic design.
Yeah.
That's how you're watching this video, because he's doing all the editing and all the videoing. And it's very handy because he is really good with computers, and he has designed and built over the years a really awesome spreadsheet that helps us to categorize all of our expenses that we're going to have into a house, and percentages added for certain things, and then including our profit, so that we can calculate a very precise job cost and therefore present a price to the homeowner. Are we done with cost plus now?
Good enough. It's your channel. It's whatever.
Well, there's more to it. There's really more to it. But you'd have to talk to a cost plus builder to get all the finer details. Fixed pricing, how does it work? Well, here's how it works for us. You have to have a couple things to start with, all right? You have to have a finalized house plan. And for us, we actually design the homes so we know all the ins and outs, and that's very helpful for us. There's no surprises. You have to have a specification sheet. And what that does is it details all the information about the materials used in the house and about
finish and framing.
Yes, we actually detail the type of framing materials that we're going to use, especially when it comes to sheet goods, because there's a drastic price difference in premium sheet goods. And we're talking like Advantech and Zip System plywood versus the cheapest OSB or the cheapest plywood products that you can buy. There's a big price difference in those products. So if you don't specify that, or if your builder does not specify that, then just assume you're going to end up getting the cheaper.
Yeah, and the finished plans, that's important. A lot of people have asked me, can I get a price for my house? It's 2,000 square feet. I'm like, nope, I got to look at the plan. Like, I got to have the final
Yes,
thing.
people call me all the time. They want to know what price per square foot is it cost to build? And I said, well, it could just vary so drastically. I can't even say a number because, it could be a really simple home, a 1-story with a low pitch roof. The price per foot would be very different than a 3-story house with a super steep roof with a bunch of fancy stuff. So the price per foot, it just varies house to house. And since we're doing custom homes, every home is different. The spec sheet, it's going to detail information like the block. It's going to say how many courses of block, meaning how tall is your basement. It's going to detail the type of framing, 2x10s versus trusses versus whatever. It's going to have the plywood specifications. It's going to have the roof pitch specified and all the different locations of the roof, which will also refer to the plan. You'll have things like plumbing, how many toilets, how many hose bibs, how many everything.
How many light fixtures.
Yes. Electrical, all of the trades, okay? Just imagine there's information, detailed information about all the trades, all the way through the insulation, through the drywall, through the other interior finishes. Maybe it's got a big wood ceiling. You have to detail what kind of wood is it, because if you don't...
What kind of finish is on
yeah, you could put 1 coat of finish on a really cheap piece of pine, or you could put 10 coats of finish on a mahogany ceiling, okay? So there's worlds of differences you can't just say it's a wood ceiling. So that's why all the information has to be detailed so that I understand what it is, the homeowner understands what it is. We try to leave no room for guessing.
You know what? It's all about expectations. If your homeowner is expecting one thing and you give them something less than they expect, they're not gonna be happy. And actually, if we're expecting one thing and the homeowner expects something greater than we're expecting to do, that expectation, somebody's going to be disappointed.
Disappointment and
angry.
Probably some argument, and it's not going to be pretty. And when you build a custom home, you're stuck with your homeowner for the duration of the job. It's like being married to them temporarily. You try to do your best to keep the relationship in good standing so that you can get through the job together and everybody can be happy at the end. You know, if you're doing things to make them mad, well, it's not going to be a very fun ride for the next 5-6 months.
Does that mean you get divorced at the end?
It kind of means
a
that.
Happy divorce.
I guess it's mutual, I hope. Maybe marriage isn't the best.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you call it? Let's dive in a little bit deeper here on fixed price. There are going to be some things that you don't 100% know that are defined at the beginning.
The cost of them.
The cost. Before you start building, let's talk about the things that we put in allowances for. Kitchen cabinets, flooring, tile, some other things like electrical fixtures.
Yep.
Sometimes plumbing fixtures, because they can vary in cost drastically. I mean, we're talking, a lot of money at stake. So what we have to do is put in an allowance. And what that means is, say for kitchen cabinets, I allow the homeowner X amount of dollars.
Say $10,000.
Let's call it $10,000 for an average home that we might build. The homeowner has $10,000 that they can spend on cabinets. If they spend exactly the $10,000 and stay in budget on their end, then the contract, there is no change, there's no price change, it stays on budget. If they decide, I want to go $20,000 or $30,000 on cabinets, then they owe the additional money to me.
Which you could do easily.
Yes. Now, and going the other way, if they decide, I found some cabinets for $5,000, they get the other $5,000 back as a credit. So they can actually come in under budget, but it's on them to choose.
It is.
See? And same for flooring. Say it's, again, maybe another $10,000 for flooring. They can pick something inexpensive and get money back. Or they can stay right on budget, or they can go over budget and we charge more money to account for that. I think all these things are actually benefits to the homeowner. They know exactly what the house is going to cost to start with, assuming that they don't go way over budget by selecting products that are really expensive and outside of what they had told us originally. But there are some disadvantages to the builder. You really need to know that the cost that you think is going to cost actually is the cost, because there is the potential for you to build the whole thing and then find out that you spent more on something than you thought you would, like maybe labor. Maybe
that's the biggest one.
Maybe you didn't account for the amount of labor it's going to take to do something, and you still have to do it, and you can't.
Whoops.
You just can't charge the homeowner that extra money because it was your fault. Try it. Go ahead and try to charge the homeowner extra for labor and say, well, I didn't really think it'd take this long. I think I'm going to charge you $20,000 to account for that labor. That's not going to fly over real well. Also, materials, What if material prices change?
Okay, so in our contract, I have a line that said if material prices go way up due to war, hurricanes, acts of God, etc., we can change the price for that from when we wrote the contract to when we built the house.
So in order for that to work, what we actually do is write down the price of certain materials that we know we're using at the time of the pricing.
Yes.
That way, if there is a drastic increase within a short time, and we're only talking about within 6 months here, because we don't price houses 2 years in advance, because who knows what the economy could do, or the availability of certain materials, or the cost of those materials.
And this came into play recently.
It did, of course, everybody knows, yes. Everything was interrupted and disturbed. So it is very wise, I believe, to write down the prices. Let's just say of plywood. What does a 1/2-inch piece of plywood cost?
For OSB.
What does a stud cost? What does a 2x10x16 cost?
What's your rafters cost?
What does a concrete block cost? What does a yard of concrete from the concrete plant cost? You actually do need to know what these costs are and write them down at the time of your pricing if you're going to make an allowance to be able to charge a sudden or drastic increase. We're not talking about the slow, natural increase of the cost of building.
Inflation.
Inflation, there you go.
There you go.
I knew it had a fancy word. Glad you went to college there, bud. As many times as we've calculated the cost of a home and built a home and then checked how much we spent, I still think it's like next to impossible to account for every cost.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean, even things like, let's just say you're up on a mountainside and you got more drive time because the weather was bad and your road's bad, or I don't know, there's all kinds of variables. You need to have a miscellaneous category in your spreadsheet that is going to give you a little buffer of money that you're going to be able to spend on something that is not already in a category.
I would say 1 to 2% is a good number.
Yeah,
and if
you're
we
gonna
wouldn't have
spend
done
it.
that on a lot of jobs, we would not have made any money.
You're gonna spend this money. So for the homeowners maybe watching, this is not fluff, I've heard it called. This is not just extra money built in that the homeowner's just gonna stack up at the end. This is money that will get spent, I guarantee it. Even like tools that break down, stuff that you don't account for, you know, you need to buy a new saw, a new drill, a new whatever. Something on your truck breaks. You need a new water pump, a new fuel pump. You're driving a Dodge. You might need, you know, like me, everything replaced on your truck. Then you got a new truck.
Ford.
Well, anyway, it's even stuff like the waste. You got to take your trash to the construction waste, things like that. If you don't have a line, there's all these things that you need to have a miscellaneous amount of, not a miscellaneous amount of money, a miscellaneous line.
Yeah, because it's all part of the cost of building the house.
There you go. What if you need to buy a new shirt, you know, and you need to
that may not be part of
you need to look good on the job because you're making a video.
That's not part of it.
Okay, all right. One advantage of doing fixed pricing for the builder is that you don't have to have every receipt because you don't have to prove that you spent $50 at the gas station and you don't have to prove that you spent X number of dollars on wood materials because if you spent too much or too little, it's on you. If you want to have a really good account of what you spent, good, keep your own records and it'll help you do better pricing in the future, but that is not information that you have to present to your homeowner because they know that you're just staying on budget.
That's right, they don't care unless they're over budget, then they care.
If you only needed 20 studs, but you bought 100,
that's on you.
well, you own 80 extra studs, okay? The homeowner didn't buy those extra studs. They're yours. You can keep them or return them. With all this said, why doesn't everybody just do cost plus? Why don't we just do cost plus? Well, a couple reasons. One is that our homeowners are very happy at the beginning and at the end because they know what it's going to cost, and at the end, it did cost what we said it would cost. So everybody's happy, right?
We've never had a client that's like, oh yeah, let's do cost plus. That sounds better.
No, nobody volunteered to switch or something like that. Here's another benefit to the fixed price, and this is what keeps us going, all right? It's the drive to get the job done. Why? Because I don't get paid to be at this job longer.
Right.
I actually, in essence, if you break it down, I would get paid more money because if I got the job done faster, because I spent less time there, and there's a fixed amount of money. So let's just say you're burning up this money as you go along. You're spending it on labor as well as the materials. The longer you're there, the more you have spent. So we have this sort of drive, I guess you'd call it, to get the job done and get it done well so that the homeowner's happy with it. Because if you just hurry up and do a sloppy job, say, I'm gonna get done fast and make tons of money, woo! Well, guess what? You get done and it's sloppy and the homeowner says, I don't like this, this is not up to par. I don't like that, redo that, I don't like this. And you're gonna be like totally like having headaches
fast
at the end.
and good.
Fast and good. It's gotta be fast and good. Did you say that already?
Yeah. If you did the reverse math right now with the prices of materials, I'll bet most of the houses we're building would be close to $200 per square foot. And that includes like the porches as well. So that's not interior finished space, but something like that. If you did reverse math.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, doesn't mean every house will be that price.
No, it doesn't. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe you learned a little bit of something about building pricing. I hope it helps you to be educated when you need to build something or pick a builder, or if you're a builder yourself, just give a little insight into how other people do it. I appreciate you watching. Hope you subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Catch you next time.